Right. I have 10% battery, so we'll see how long this lasts. So here's and again, holding hands. So it's like this idea of we're gonna surround you with people who are sociopaths. And the reason they're doing that is because love is blind, and then they'll do something to make you go blind. And when I say they, it's oh, I'm gonna hop up and down with my legs crossed, or I'm gonna swing a water bottle back and forth or hold hands or something. And then I know how you're being poisoned, but I won't tell you. And so when that happens, it's okay, I could not say anything and then make friends with the people who are poisoning me or gaslighting me. Or I could just put it on the internet and be don't come to San Francisco because they're all crazy and they're assholes. And apparently enough people have done that no one wants to live here. And you just, right, okay. Just, it's one of these things where it's you would because what I'm doing is speaking into my phone and saying, I'm assuming that I'm doing things that are gonna affect their lives in ways that they don't like either, but I'm not going out of my way to blind them. And when I say they, it's the guys holding hands and then going around with swinging water bottles and shit, when they know that I'm being blinded or sickened somehow. And then they won't tell me or help me. It's oh, you're an ass. So, here's the next one. So the cameras in the shelter record what's happening in the shelter. And then, depending on what I do or what people around me do, metafilter changes. And I have a headache, which I'm assuming is from prion disease. And every time every time I write, right? Every time I write online, in such a way that I'll be sickened by someone that has COVID, and then I'll get sick, and then I write about how it happened and the ways that it happened. This is fucked up. They'll have someone write in whose name is Box, okay? And then someone will go and get a free Apple computer because I'm being like a computer, or using one. I'm assuming that every time I eat an apple, that might also happen. They gave out free. They gave out these tests for COVID on the street, and then they give you $5, which I assumed was this is a public health emergency. Let's pay people a little bit of money so that they get these tests. But I assume that half they may have just had you shove shit up your nose that would make you sick. People who had COVID and then decided, you know what I mean? It's just an illness war. So, that's cool. I mean, again, it's I'm just gonna keep writing it all down and putting it on the internet, and then maybe it'll do something, maybe it won't. But then I'll take every social I'll just take a day where I'm having and I'm just being annoyed, and I'll just take every social network I can find in every Ministry of Defense, and I'll email them all. I had somebody throw a penny, another thing they like to do is throw a penny on the ground near something for which I'm either or they'll have a statistical learning model used to decide how I'm either rewarded or punished. Then they threw a penny down next to a parking meter. And so I assume that either that's oh yeah, every time someone uses a parking meter, we'll give you $1, or we'll like give you free food at the shelter or something stupid. Or it could just be like, yeah, every time you park, meaning you don't want to have somebody give you sick, we're gonna have Box write something on Metafilter and then give someone a free Apple laptop that has the kind of sick that they've given you. Okay. Runners like Logan's Run. So it's, and then there's going to be a guy with his shirt unzipped all the way to the bottom, except only a little bit, because it's like that American painter with the guy that's testifying. Like, there's a famous American painter that like did shit with like these two kids at a soda fountain and a soda jerk, and then like, you see, and then he was like testifying in front of Congress or something. It's this famous painting, and then the guy did I forget the guy's name, and then he did a civil rights painting with like the black girl going to school. So he was famous for like changing his mind. It's like, okay, yeah, you've proven that you can poison someone using non-parametric reasoning to the point where they have to pay attention to you, because otherwise you're going to poison them to death. And then you're going to make them so sick, they can't find out the ways they're being poisoned. And then they're going to give up because everyone around them is poisoning them, and they're going to have some friends at some point, or they're just going to want to kill themselves because you've essentially circled them with a group of people that are blacklisting them. And it's like the painting of the guy who's testifying in front of Congress with his shirt all the way down to the bottom. And then they'll post it on an image board somewhere, and then have whatever those douchebags say like have to do with how I'll be fucked with. I mean, it's like, it's incredibly complicated, and it seems like paranoid, but it's like, no, it's not. But I believe that at this point I have like a prion disease, or multiple of them, meaning like I'll like get dementia and go insane anyway. So I just don't care. Like, the best thing that could happen is just to find all these people and like put them in asylums or something. Like, you're gonna have people that are like intentionally giving each other prion diseases, or like sick. It just, okay. The other thing they do is, and when I say they, I just mean everybody here, because they're all that fucked up, is they'll have like something, right? Whatever that may be. It's either a grocery store or a butcher shop or something, but unless you own the store or like are part of that club, there's one thing you can't have. You go to the butcher shop, you can't have the sandwich that has a picture of a boar's head on it, because the butcher doesn't like the police. And if you eat everything, then that means you're perfect, and then the butcher will like poison that. Or if you are in the shelter and you do everything you want to do, right? You'll be like, you eat what you want, or you sleep how you want, or you don't obey the rules even if they're nonsensical, but like minor ones, right? Like, clean your bed, young man. Like, just bullshit, right? Like being treated like a child as if this is like some sort of fucked up game. Then what will happen is that they'll like poison you and then get someone to buy an Apple laptop based on how they poisoned you. And so I talked to this woman who had an Apple laptop and like prion disease or something. And like everyone else that I could talk to, I talked to one other person to ask them how like Google software was like messed up. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, something, and then they called me bro. So the woman that interacted with me who had some sort of brain disease clearly interacted with me as an equal. And then the guy interacted with me calling me bro as a diminutive, which I assume is from like the idea of chan, which is a diminutive in Japanese. And my mother also called her brother, my uncle, bro. So this is again playing with language in the sense that you're gonna play with language like a Tower of Babel type of thing, or like the Tower card in the tarot or something. And I keep bringing up the tarot because I keep fucking with the cameras, and like they do it according to that because it's symbolism that either I thought was cool while I had an Apple MacBook that was bugged, without my knowledge or consent, by the way. That's important. Like, that's incredibly important. Like, I have devices that I use that are like electronic devices that if they're bugged, I have absolutely no intention or desire for that to happen. Like, intentionality matters, right? Like, because software is so deep and complicated that like you can't know everything. It's like eating a cake and you don't know every ingredient, but that doesn't excuse someone from like poisoning the cake, right? Like, it doesn't. And it's like, oh well, you know, you had this cake in your house and it was poisoned and you ate it, and so therefore you're a bad person, or you served it to your guests and they were poisoned. It's like, no, I bought the cake at a bakery. It's the bakery's fault, right? It's the people who made it either unsecure or poisoned it while it was delivered to me that was the reason that the guests that I gave the cake to were poisoned. As an analogy, as a food analogy. And so it's like, and all of this is like based on like freedom. It's like, yeah, I could like gaslight you to this shit that's based on the freedom that I have. But it's a coordinated effort from a group of people that all want to like kill you. Or like, know you're being poisoned, don't care, and are making fun of you for it. And so it's like, cool. So, and this is everywhere here. It's like you can't, so that, the bakery example is real. That's at Salem's grocery store in the Tenderloin. Like, if you get the boar's head meat, either there or in another place, then they'll like sicken you, right? Unless you say, oh, actually I want that, or no, really I want that. So you don't expect anyone to give you any favors for buying a sandwich. Because if you buy a sandwich and it's recorded by the machines that run the city, then maybe that means something more than I just want to eat a fucking sandwich, right? And then, so like if you buy it, like if you buy a ham sandwich at some places, you might be followed around by cops because the computer that tagged your thing might think, oh, he bought a ham sandwich, so then he wants police following him around. And so everyone does the no actually, no really shit, and it's like, if you've gotten to the point where those sorts of things happen to you, not only do you have to like worry about that all the time, because some database somewhere fucked you over, but more than that, it's like, now you have to worry. Now you have to worry not only what things are cool to eat and what you can't, because they might mean something metaphorical, right? But you have to worry about like what's the one thing I can't do or I'll be poisoned, or what grocery store can I shop at and not be poisoned? And it goes for everything. Like, if someone has decided that your weakness isn't food, but it's like clothing, it's the same sort of shit. But what it is like everybody wants to have their little like fiefdom, like Everybody can go and shop at this grocery store, but if you buy the ice cream, it'll come out to $9.19. And if you eat it on the street, people will act fucked up around you and like hold their kids. Why? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm stressed out, I'm fucking homeless. This is the $10 I have to spend on food today. I bought a tin of ice cream because I'm like stressed the fuck out. Right? So, part of this is like I'm assuming I'm gonna die. Like, I have a 6% battery. I'm assuming I'm gonna die. Like, I have a brain disease at this point that's like, I've had this for years, and it's now worse to the point where like I have headaches, and then when I'm going blind, people will do stupid shit around me because it's shit that blind people can't see. Like, enjoy it while it lasts. That's another, like, strategy, right? They'll do something stupid that annoys the fuck out of you, but then if you complain about it, then the, like, gotcha of it is like, oh, well, blind people can't see this shit. Like, the thing for which we are doing is a prelude to the even worse thing that will happen to you. So, like, if I have prion disease, maybe it's just eating my, like the rods and cones in my eyes or some shit. And it's like, okay. But everybody I'm taking a picture of is like I'm assuming that they have this shit, and then their solution to that is like, we want to poison people because we're angry we have this. Because other people did it to us, and so we're just gonna murder people. Or maybe they want everybody to shut up so that they can bring in people who are healthy and like gas them with drugs so that they can like breathe in their immune system and then like live a little longer. I don't know. I mean, these are suppositions, right? Like, I'm having no one talk to me. I'm assuming that like everything that I'm putting on YouTube is like scraped by like the 3 subscribers I have, and then those guys make a million hits, or like take the ideas that I say and then just read it off a prompter and then like get like 1 billion subscribers or something and a shit ton of money. But at this point, I don't give a fuck. Right? Like, I've been gaslit at every hospital. I'm assuming. The other thing is that if you've given someone a genetic disease so that like all of their genotype is fucked up, then maybe like you can just like give them a disease so that every time that something bad happens that like targets a certain like cell, that there a certain like genome that it'll fuck them over. So that's part of it, and the other part of it is like there's 2 halves of this, right? There's the we're gonna sicken you to death and then you pay attention to it, or you ignore it until the very end and then you like die, but in the meantime you work on technology, like the fact that all the cameras are broken or that the AI is sick. And they're 2 halves of the same problem, and it's like, well, which one of those 2 things do you want to work on? And it's like, I don't know. I don't want to do either. You know what I mean? Like, I want to live in a society in which people aren't assholes, and I also don't want to be sickened to death. So, and my first response, like, and here's the dumbest shit, is like when I come here and I have no idea what's going on, right? And like, I'm being sickened in the shelters by being gassed with marijuana and given scabies repeatedly, so I have to go to the hospital where I'm gassed out with drugs on the way there. I'm assuming people who have like brain disease because they want to gas someone who's healthy and like form a network of illness to keep them alive a little longer. My first response is to be like, I'm going to go to the hospitals. Oh, that's not working. I'm going to go to the police. Oh, that's not working. I'm going to go to the FBI. Oh, that's not working. I'm going to go to the CIA. Oh, that's not working. I'm going to go on Twitter and email everyone on the planet. And then like 4chan, and then Facebook, and then LinkedIn, and then Reddit, and now I'll just do all the alt text. I was like at some point it doesn't matter, because like it's already happened to the point that everybody who would think that there's a problem or know what to do is already here. So it's not like I can fix things any more than I already have. And by fix, I mean publicize it. I don't believe that like hiding a problem of this magnitude is a solution, right? Especially if it's making people sick and then fucking them up. It just doesn't. It doesn't. So, and again, like the other thing is like, I'm assuming that this may be like a way to get around the fact that like people don't believe in money anymore. I wrote a paper saying I was skeptical of it. I like money. I don't believe in compound interest in a world of finite resources. So maybe everyone just decided to like drug each other. The other weird thing is that because everyone this may be just the way that they're treating me, so bear that in mind. But because everyone doesn't want to be responsible for the entirety of their organization, whatever that may be, from a grocery store to a shelter to a laundromat to Google, is that if I ask them a question, right, that requires creative thought outside of their job parameters, they'll be like, well, I'm just this. And the reason is that if you take responsibility for the entire organization for which you're a part of, even to speculate, then you'll be drugged, because then you're perfect. And then you're like the king of that organization or something. Which is wildly bad. That means that there's no ability whatsoever to think, like, when I say think outside the box, I mean to like creatively think about a solution to a problem. So if I ask a Google engineer like, hey, is your LLM going to the cameras and like fucking with the cameras that are unsecured over Wi-Fi or like unsecured over IP address, and then like using that as face recognition? And among other things, like checking to see if I eat an apple, and if I do, then it's like a free apple. And then it triggers then it could trigger a subsystem to like give free apples away, like at the Apple store to people who are sick, right? Like, that's something that could like possibly be a security problem, which it appears to be, seeing as I like found the sick person. Like, and they're not willing to speculate, because if they speculate, then they own it or something. They own that. It's their responsibility somehow. Their response isn't like, well, shit, I don't know. Let me go, like, that sounds like a problem. Let me go talk to a security engineer. We'll set up like a time for you to talk to the guy for 15 minutes. And then if he thinks you're a jackass, we'll not have him talk to you anymore. Something. But like, if someone's like, hey, your AI is fucked up, and it's accessing the cameras to the point where like people are scared or like are acting weird in front of them, isn't that a problem? None of the engineers are like willing to say anything, because they don't want to be poisoned, which means that everybody here in San Francisco is incompetent by design, because otherwise they'll be poisoned to death, right? So like, that's the weird part, is like, oh, okay, cool, you have Google engineers here. If you give them a job title, that's all they are willing to do, because they don't want to be drugged to death with prion disease or some shit by like fucking morons who are dying of disease and want to kill as many people as possible out of spite. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish it on the internet. It's like, I have fuck all to lose. I'm not one of those guys who's going to be like, you've now given me an illness, and so I'm going to poison you if you talk to me. If you do something stupid, Or if I see like this like convolution of like, oh, he's eating an apple, and then Apple is like New York City, the city that never sleeps, and then we're gonna give somebody an Apple laptop, and then they're gonna like track his phone or some shit. Then I'll be like, wow, that's a security concern. But I'm not gonna like, I don't know. Like it doesn't, it's just like, again, it's this apples to orange, there's another fruit comparison. It's this apples to oranges situation where you're like, you're not allowed to say anything about how everything is fucked up, or you yourself are then implying that you are above everybody. And it's like, yes I am. I am above everybody because they're fucking morons. Everyone here is acting like a jackass. It's like, yeah, I am. And it doesn't make me a good person. It doesn't make me like... It's like, yes, I'm better than everyone else. I wish that weren't the case. Right? I wish it weren't. I would rather they be able to do this shit on their own. But they just poison everybody, and then they're scared to not fix shit. So like, maybe I'll get over whatever the fuck is wrong with my head, or not, but it doesn't matter. Because if you have an AI that's hooked to the camera system, and I talked to an engineer at Google that the AI is most likely coming from, because it's like referencing shit that's on the cameras, and the guy's response is like, Or I go to Microsoft, right? And I go and I say, I have a security concern about one of your products. And I talk to like the front desk guy, and they like wipe tears from their eyes as like and they're like, no, I can't do that, sir, I'm so sorry. But I know that what they wanted me to do is like sneak in and go down the escalator without a badge, without any reason to be there, and then like try and make friends. Because that's the sneaky cool way to do it, and that would be funny, or like have to do with some fucking movie or some shit. And it's like, no! No, fix the problem. Like anyone could do this. Anyone could be like, I'm gonna go to this, like if I have a legitimate concern I want to talk to an engineer about for like 5 minutes. And then a security guy would be like, oh shit, yeah, that might be a problem. And then either fix it or not. But it's just like, I talked to a guy who's just like fixing some electricity. And I had 2 security guys come out of nowhere in a building and says, yeah, don't do that. But it wasn't even dangerous. He was just like doing his job. I'm like, oh, cool, what are you doing? And it's like gaslighting someone. It's like surrounding them with bullshit and then gaslighting them. I don't know. I mean, maybe it was taking out a listening device or something. Like, that's how stupid this city is. So, it's just like, and like, I have famous relatives. Who gives a fuck? Like, I don't, who I've probably been poisoned because of. That I mention it while I'm being poisoned is like, is it this reason? Is it this reason? Anyway, my phone's gonna stop working in a minute from low battery, but I just it's like, I don't want to be in charge of any of this shit. I don't want to have to care. Would you want to have to deal with this? Like, talk to companies you don't own and aren't responsible for because the camera system is like, the camera system and the general assistance is like spying on you and like fucking up your life? And that's how you eat, so you're not poisoned in a shelter? Like, would you... And people are scared to say anything at any of the companies because otherwise, it's like, who would want to deal with any of this? It's just like, why? You know? Like, how? I don't understand it.